Right, skill haste. A lot of people have this actually confused, which is understandable because in Division 1 it worked very differently. However, this is also coming up because I recently did a video about how diminishing returns just don't exist in Division 2, and shock or gasp, people argued it. I'm shocked. So here we are. We're just looking at skill haste. Can't talk today. Don't know why. However, before we get too far into it, I need to apologise. My game has been acting up lately, so if I have to suffer with it, you've got to watch it. So yeah, enjoy the lag spikes and the frame rate drops and everything else. Welcome to Division 2 on PC. Right. So, in Division 1, we had CDR, cooldown reduction. This worked percent for percent. Easiest way to explain this is if you had a cooldown of 100 seconds and you had a 50% cooldown, it removed 50% of the cooldown. So 100 seconds now becomes 50 seconds. 10% cooldown, 100 seconds is 90 seconds. 70% cooldown, 100 seconds is now 30 seconds. Etc, etc. It literally worked percent for percent. Now, because it no longer works like this with skill haste, think of it more as a active recharge rather than a cooldown. So, what this means is if we have to go from 0 to 100 and we're doing it second by second, if we do a 100% increase in this, we're no longer doing it second by second, we're doing it half a second by half a second. We've doubled the rate in which it recharges. So with skill haste, if you were to have a 100-second cooldown and you put 100% skill haste in, this is a 50% cooldown. Hoping that made sense. Another way of looking at it is with our two sexy cars on screen. The top one is Toyota CDR, cooldown reduction, and the bottom one is Toyota SH, skill haste. They have to make it across the other end of the screen in 100 seconds. Now, because Toyota CDR, cooldown reduction, is using cooldown reduction, if you were to give it 50% cooldown reduction, it doesn't start there. It starts here. However, with skill haste, no matter what you do, it will always start where it is. The difference is where Toyota CDR still only moves at 1 meter per second, but it's halfway. Toyota SH with 100% skill haste now moves at 2 meters per second. Now, the example I've given here is very simplistic, simply because 50% cooldown reduction from 100 is still going to give you a 50 seconds. However, a 100% skill haste is still going to give your 100-second cooldown 50 seconds. So this is more of like a direct analysis. One thing you should note is 50% cooldown is equal to 100% skill haste. However, from here it and then starts getting convoluted, simply because the equation for skill haste is as follows. So your cooldown is equal to your base cooldown. For the examples I'm going to be using as turrets, that's 25 times 100 divided by parentheses 100 plus whatever your skill haste would be. This seems like a really weird and convoluted way to do it. However, in the long run, this does actually work slightly better than cooldown reduction, just because you get more bang for your buck at lower levels and it becomes a bit stringent on higher values, simply just because of the returns to scale. So here we are, turret base of 25-second cooldown, then we then times it by 100, which gives us 2,500. We then add in our weird and wacky equation, which is dividing 2,500 by 100 plus our skill haste, and I've put the skill haste on the right hand side, so it goes 10, 20, 30, 40, bloody blah, all the way up to 250. The reduction, as you can see, hopefully, is what your skill cooldown will be after. So if you've got a 25-second cooldown with 10% skill haste, you get 22.73, 20.83, 19.23, 17.86, working all the way down. Now I can see it already. Someone's going to go, aha, look, once you get to like 140%, that's some serious diminishing returns, because 130, 140 and 150 are all 10 seconds. 160 and 170 and 9, 180, 90 and 200, and 210 are 8 seconds, bloody bloody blah. The problem is, the equation for this is what I like to call reverse probability. If you work out or know how to calculate probability, it's essentially the exact opposite for this, because with probability you can never ever hit 100%. It goes like 99.9999999 into infinity. It never hits 100. This is the same with this. It's the same equation with like 99 quadrillion skill haste. We're still not at 0. Weirdly, diminishing returns will hit 0. Which is interesting. Really. For the next exercise, we're going to pick one at random. Pick whatever one you want. Go for, I don't know, 9.26. Go to Google, type in 9.26 times 2.7, and I bet you get 24.99. Well, you'll probably get a few more decimals added on, because we're omitting a few decimals in this because the game won't actually calculate it. But you can do that with any of them. Here, I did 8.33, increased by 200%, so you do times 3. If you wanted to do like a 10% one, it's 1.1, 1.2, and then just add 1 from there, essentially. You'll always get 24.99. The reason it's 24.99 is because there are a few decimals missing. It's not quite 8.33, but that's how the game will register it. That's how the game will calculate it. There are, on the spreadsheet, a lot more decimal points. If you added in every decimal, you will find that you literally come straight back to 25. So there aren't diminishing returns because you're getting every single percent worth of it. It is, however, very heavily diminished in the returns to scale. We can also show this by turning the aforementioned spreadsheet into a graph. So yeah, you got 0 to 250% skill haste, and that will be along the left hand side, and then along the bottom is your actual cooldown. Notice how it's a straight line. Why am I bringing your attention to a straight line? Well, again, we're just going to go to Google and we're going to type in, I'm actually doing it while I'm recording, okay, so diminished returns graph, and then we're going to click on images, save image. Do we notice something different? It will literally tell you the point of diminishing returns. So yeah, hopefully we're getting it. Anyway, back to skill haste, I think. Should we get back to skill haste? I think we should. Anyway, now the furthest I can actually get with skill haste is like 134%. So yeah, due to the impact of the return to scale, there's not really much point in going past 124%, just because the scale at that point isn't going to give you a lot of return on investment, not because of diminishing returns. So on this one, it follows the trend from 10% to 250, and then it goes to 300, 350, 400, 450, blah blah blah. And as you can hopefully see, the difference between 200 and then going up to like 950% is very minimal, whereas the difference going between like 1 and then like 120-ish is actually quite a large impact. This is simply just due to the fact that the scale is running out of decimals to what the game can actually implement, which is a very convoluted way of saying it's not diminishing returns, but it bloody well mimics it. And unless you're going to spend about 8 hours googling the living crap out of this stuff, you'd probably say it was diminishing returns. So, skill haste. That's how it works. I wouldn't suggest going above 120 or 132% skill haste. The only reason I say 132 or 120 is just simply because the attribute rolls or the mod rolls are 12%. So 10 rolls is 120, obviously. 11 rolls would be 132. This obviously will take into account the brand set bonuses or the gear set bonuses that you have on your build. So results will differ depending on, well, the maximum value will differ depending on how you have your build set up. As an added side note, weapon swap speed and reload speed work the exact same way as skill haste. So yet again, sorry to disappoint. I'm not going to say it. You can figure it out for yourself. In the meantime, have fun. Good luck. Don't die. It's bad for the health. Mwah.